What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Sometimes it's just hard to let go. It just is. I recently had a card sell that I considered a PC card. I semi foolishly, I guess, listed it on eBay just to kind of see what would happen. As the Godfather says, I got an offer that I couldn't refuse. So we'll talk about the card in a second, a little story behind it. But first, I kind of wanted to talk about selling your PC slash profiting off your PC, just kind of wrapping my head around it. Maybe part of this is just a therapeutic process for me because I am letting this card go. A lot of times we buy cards and say, oh, this is for the PC. I'm never selling this. I would never let this go. Whatever statements and grand statements that we make. But at the end of the day, like I said, everything has a price. And sometimes you just get a number that you can't pass up. But I do think this is something a lot of people struggle with. You buy this card, you stick it in your PC, and then maybe it's time to let it go because something better comes along that you're interested in. Maybe it just, whatever it is, falls out of favor with you and you're not as in love with it as you once were. That's not necessarily the case with this card, but that has happened to me with other cards. And I think people get this mental block about letting the card go because it's air quotes in their PC, and in their mind that just gets like locked away into a vault never to be touched, even if it's something that maybe they're not in love with as much at the moment, or you just get an offer that is too good to pass up to move the card on to the next home. And I think it's important that we reevaluate that stuff on occasion and kind of work through the mental thought process of, if you have a true grail card tucked away, what would it take for you to move that card just from a thought process alone? My most recent one, like if someone, I get this question on occasion, like what is the last card that you would sell? Right now, in my mind, it's actually the Pedro Pascal that's sitting dead center on the camera. Part of that is, one, I just absolutely love the character, love the card, and love the actor. I loved him in Mando, and I loved him in Game of Thrones. One of my favorite Game of Thrones characters, both from the books and from the shows. That card never comes to market. I almost actually just very recently bought a second one, but those cards just rarely come up. So that would probably be one of the last cards I would actually let go in my entire collection. I have a lot of other things that I would move before it got to that one. I would have to be pretty deep in it to have to move that card. But I think that's an interesting thought process to kind of go through every once in a while is, what are the top 5 cards in your collections? Like the last 5 that you would sell if stuff really hit the fan and you needed to liquidate. What are those 5? I think that's an interesting list to put together. I actually have to think about that. I know that Pedro is my number 1. I don't know what the other ones would be. I would actually kind of need to sit and think about that for a minute. That's an intriguing thought that I've placed in my own brain. So I'm going to have to workshop that one. But, so let's get to the card in question. It is the Jose Ramirez Topps Dynasty Wahoo patch. We're going to get a little story time on this one. So, a friend of mine that goes to a lot of the local shows, Christian, acquired the second eye, the other eye to this card. I picked this up on eBay, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago now. I think it popped up at $4.99, buy it now, and I just smacked the bin on it. There was best offer available, but I felt like something like this wouldn't hang around for very long. The Chief Wahoo Dynasty patches are very sought after. Especially since they're no longer the Indians and moving over to the Guardians now. And Jose Ramirez was having a hot start to the season. I just grabbed it. A friend of mine, Christian, ended up stumbling across literally the opposite half of the patch at the Dallas Card Show. I believe it was the Dallas Card Show. And picked it up. And I made an effort to get that card off of him. I offered, I think, up to, and I know he paid a lot less for it. I think I offered up to $800 in trade plus cash or close to it at the Midwest Monster. We went back and forth on it, and he's like, no, not moving it for that. And he has a rule, which is I wouldn't say a rule, but like a stance where any card, even if it's in his PC, he puts it on eBay at an extremely high asking price because it's a price that he's willing to move it for. So he had the card on eBay for $1,200, and a lot of his friend group made fun of him, laughed at him, and said no one's ever paying $1,200 for that card. And he said I was the closest to ever get there with around the $800 offer, and I really wanted to pair the two up. I really did. And if I would have paired the two up, I would have had a whole different thought process about this. So a month or two goes by, someone smacks the bin on his $1,200 listing on eBay for the opposite eye. So we were talking back and forth, and I jokingly listed mine at $4,000 best offer, buy it now, just for the heck of it. I got a lot of watchers on it, and I got a lot of offers on it. I declined offers of $750, $800 on it a couple different times. But I just kind of more put it up there like just to see what happens. Partially because I thought maybe if someone bought that eye, that maybe they would want to pair it up with this one. So I threw it up there kind of as a joke to see if I got some Godfather offer on it. So flash forward to this past week, I get an offer for $750, $800. That's a pretty common offer on it, to be honest. I snap declined it like I always do. I should have put a min offer up, but I'm bad about remembering to do that. And then the guy counters back, or not, I didn't even counter. I just straight declined. About a half an hour later, he offers $1,200, which is what the other eye sold for. I'm into the card for a little over $500 with, shipping fees or shipping taxes, etc. on this one. Let's just call it $550, $525. I don't remember what it was exactly, but a little over $500. And he offered me $1,200, which would net me out slightly more than double. And I actually thought about it. I slept on it and thought about it for almost a full day. And then I decided to accept the offer. Part of the reason was that other eye has kind of slipped out of my grasp. Originally, I never really thought about it when I first bought this card about, having grand illusions of putting together all five or anything like that. But when I got close on that second one, it really intrigued me, the idea of maybe making a run at it. And then when I lost out on that one, for some reason, I don't want to say this card lost its luster, but it's like I'm probably never going to see that opposite eye now. That guy bought it and it shipped off to California or something, and this is not the same buyer on this card for $1,200. So I'm going to let it go. I'm bittersweet about it, which is partially why I'm making the video. Something that does make it a little bit easier is I did recently just pick up this one. I got this one for $400. Not as cool of a patch, but still a pretty cool patch with the smile from the Chief Wahoo. So I recently picked this one up. I bought it right before I left for the National. It was here waiting for me when I got home. So also having that made this one a little bit easier to let go. So bought it for $500, ended up selling it for $1,200 or $1,250. I don't remember the exact number. I think I net out between $1,000 and $1,100 after eBay fees and all their nonsense. So I got to package this up and get it shipped out. I've actually had really good luck flipping these air quote PC items. I bought this for $500. I'm selling it for $1,200. I bought the 101 Jose Ramirez Majestic patch for $400 or $450, and I sold that within a week for $750. Now, part of that was I liked the idea of that card when I bought it. When I got it in hand, it just didn't hit the same. I don't know if it was the Majestic patch or what it was, but that card just did not speak to me like this one did. So I ended up moving that fairly quickly. But once again, it does show that I do think right now in the current state that the card market is in, I feel like it's a lot easier to profit off of this rare, unique stuff versus, your random prism silver, optic hollow, whatever it is. Things like this don't have comps per se. It's whatever the person's willing to pay and whatever the person's willing to sell it for, because it's not like there's other ones out there. And it's also just a cool, unique piece because of the patch and, you know, the fact that it's a Chief Wahoo. There's some interesting angles here, but just generally speaking, these more rare, rare might not even be the right term. There's lots of Topps Dynasty stuff out there. I guess unique items is the word that I'm looking for. I think it's a very interesting approach to go with. I know Flipping Steve's had tons of luck playing in that market, and it's something that I've looked at more and more as I've looked at Topps Dynasty, and I've always been a fan of the color matches, obviously, which, you know, aren't crazy patch autos, but have much, much more rarity to them, much, much greater eye appeal. And it kind of gets back to that whole buying cards that matter thing that I talked about. I think it's like 2 years ago I did that video, or maybe a year ago that I did that video, where, you know, focus on cards that are truly going to matter and potentially hold value, or at least be liquid long term. I believe at the time, which I still believe this, you know, a big idea from that video was color matches, and I still believe in that. Color matches just look fantastic. They move super easy, and they're always in demand. Cool, unique stuff like this, all the same things kind of flow with it. And in this case, even easier to move. So that's all I got for you guys and girls today. Like I said, just kind of more of a me kind of talking through this process so I can actually pack this thing up and ship it out and not shed some tears about it. But I will miss this card. It was loved having it in my collection while I did. It's cool that I got to make a profit off of it. And I also hope the new owner, which is actually, I did look at the shipping address. It's near Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm glad that it's going to another Indians collector. So that's all I have for you guys and girls. Curious for your thoughts down below. Also interested to know, what is the last card that you would sell that you own? And it doesn't have to be the most valuable. It could be, you know, it could be a $10 PC card, whatever it is. But what is the last card in your collection that you would let go? Things have hit the fan. You're on tough times, whatever it is. You're downsizing. The wife's mad at you. What's the last card you're letting go? And I'm going to think about my top 5. That might actually be a pretty good video. So like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.